So I think what I'll do is start off with a reading, if you don't mind. It's one of my favorites. You've probably heard me read from it before, the Sin Sing Ming. There's just a paragraph um, that I'd like to share with you to kind of get things started. The great way is embracing and spacious. To live in it is neither easy nor difficult. Those who rely on limited views are fearful and irresolute. The faster they hurry, the slower they go. To have a narrow mind and to be attached to getting enlightenment is to lose one's center and go astray. When one is free from attachment, all things are as they are, and there is neither coming nor going. So that's one of the paragraphs from my favorite little pamphlets. It's a bit poetic, wouldn't you say? I kind of like readings that have a bit of a poetic flavor to it because, in my understanding, this way of ours, the middle way, and the teachings that surround it are ineffable. We can talk about it, we can read about it, but there's just something about it that just cannot be defined or grasped or put into stone, one could even say. And that's okay. Recently, we had, earlier this month, I think it was, earlier this month, we had what we call at our temple the Viria Ceremony. It's kind of like a graduation process where people who participate in what we call the One Sangha program get before the Sangha. They're recognized for their efforts, and they're given a bit of advice from some of the Dharma teachers there at the temple. Now, a bit about the program. It's a 9-month program where we meet. I think there's an orientation in October. Whoever shows up, I kind of explain to them the ins and outs of the programs that will be meeting monthly. They're assigned morning meditation, some chanting, evening meditation, and some journaling Monday through Friday. They have to attend a private interview, and this goes on for 9 months. And anybody who completes that successfully, they get to be a graduate at the Viria Ceremony. Virya is a word coming from the 6 paramitas. So I'd like to read what our temple uses for the 6 paramitas to you. When I'm having my monthly meetings with my students, at the very end of a 4-hour monthly meeting, usually 3 or 4 hours, we chant this before 3 bows and exiting the temple. I also chant this in the mornings with my wife when we have our morning meditation practice, and I'd like to share it with you now, if you don't mind. Meditation on the 6 paramitas. May I be generous and helpful, dana paramita. May I be pure and virtuous, sila paramita. May I be patient. May I be able to bear and forbear the wrongs of others, ksanti paramita. May I be strenuous, energetic, and persevering, virya paramita. May I practice meditation and attain concentration and oneness to serve all beings, dhyana paramita. May I gain wisdom and be able to give the benefit of my wisdom to others, prajna paramita. So you may have recognized that the Viria ceremony that we had earlier this month was one of those 6 paramitas. May I be strenuous, energetic, and persevering. Viria Paramita. So the ceremony is for those who kind of dig into what the program is meant to do, the One Sangha 9-month program. People usually come there because they feel like, for some reason or another, that I guess you could say that their practice is more surface. It could be a bit deeper. And so in the program, we ask people to practice Monday through Friday, and then there's some things you do on Sundays if you'd like attend the services, and then the monthly meetings where we discuss the book that we're reading for the year. There's a sitting, we have a silent lunch, there's some work practice. If there's anything that needs to be done around the temple, any minor chores, we do that. And then if there's time, we close at the end with another brief mindfulness meditation period. And the 6 paramitas that I just read to you. So it's interesting that to deepen one's practice, it seems like a person has to kind of decide that they want to sit more than just on Sundays, or every other Sunday, or once a month Sunday, whenever it is that a person would come to the temple or to the Zen center. And that's kind of what I emphasize, both when we're in the One Sangha program, and usually when I am asked to speak to people. It's usually to encourage you to practice on a regular basis. Those of you who already do this, and I guess I'm preaching to the choir. But if somebody else is kind of on the fence, or under the misunderstanding that practicing once a month is enough, it's better than nothing. But I'm just here to encourage you to practice a bit more often, twice a day, if possible. I may have mentioned this before, that people come to this practice of ours for all kinds of reasons. To alleviate suffering, to understand what Buddhism is about, running from some other religion. There's probably all kinds of reasons. Me, I came to seek support as I rebuilt my life from the chaos of addiction, homelessness, some incarceration. And for me, this practice has been a very strong foundation for rebuilding my life. I'm very grateful for where it has taken me. I've also probably mentioned to you before that many of us, we come to this practice seeking to alleviate our own pain, our own suffering. But after a while of practicing, I really do believe that we begin to understand that we practice not just for ourselves, but for the greater good. Perhaps when we come to the temple, we come in desperation. But at a certain point, we begin to understand that we practice to strengthen the Sangha. I myself, I am very grateful that this tradition of ours has been passed down from person to person for over 2,000 years. Just think about that. To reach us, to reach me, individually, as an individual, to allow me to discover for myself and glimpse some calm in my life. and what it means to live a liberated life, what it means to live a full life. What it means to be present in this life as it unfolds daily, moment to moment. And this is one of the things that you and I cultivate when we allow ourselves to sit on a regular basis. This ability to rest fully here in this moment. Knowing that we are alive and that our life is precious. Understanding that on the deepest of levels. Perhaps when we begin to practice, we feel like we're fitting ourselves into a box, the box of Buddhism, let's say, with the rules, instructions, the language, the practices, as if we're doing some sort of conforming. But I beg to differ. I believe that after practicing for a while, this middle way of ours, we begin to discover who we are, as we are, and that that's okay. We don't have to be somebody else. We don't have to have a different life, somebody else's life. We don't have to look over the fence at the neighbor's backyard wishing, why can't I be like him or her? We begin to discover that our treasures are right here in this very moment. And not just on an intellectual level, but deeply and fundamental. I can talk to you about this until the cows come home. You can read 1,000,000 books. You can go on 1,000 retreats. But I really believe that we cannot touch this directly unless we sit on a regular basis. This is the foundation of our practice, to sit. And in so doing, we take care of our lives, and not only our lives, but those in our lives. Those that we know and care for, and the strangers that we meet along the way. And not just in some sentimental surface way. I may have said this before, but you will never know the profound effects that your practice has on this world and the lives of others when you practice with sincerity, humility, and diligence. Speaking of diligence, I want to read another paragraph here. It's from a printout I give my students at the beginning. It's called Diligent Effort. It's written by Sukyo Redding. I believe she's a teacher. Looked like she studied in Milwaukee and Minneapolis. Anyway, I give it to everybody to kind of get a toehold on diligent effort, because that's what the One Sangha program is about, and I'd like to share that with you as well. Diligent effort is quiet and unassuming. It is not an extraordinary or special effort. When it's time to go to work, we go to work. When it's time to sit, we sit. We see what's in front of us and do it. These small actions of body, speech, and mind pile up. gradually grow into something larger as we continue our practice. When we think we have made a heroic effort, we soon feel overwhelmed and abandon our effort. Diligent effort is simply doing the seemingly inconsequential thing in front of us. Not paying a lot of attention to our goal or our destination. This doesn't mean that we don't have goals. However, they aren't always foremost in our minds. We don't save the planet by obsessing over the goal of saving it. We save it by putting our paper in the recycle bin. I like that last sentence. It's very simple. And that's kind of what you and I do. We grow moment by moment by being fully present. I'm beginning to understand myself that being fully present is a powerful skill or quality. You may know that I'm a practicing psychotherapist. I see clients, individuals, usually adults. And, in my education and in the continued education that's required, continued trainings that are required, there's all sorts of methods and studies and evidence-based this, evidence-based that, and that stuff is very helpful. But I truly believe that there's nothing more powerful in that practice of interacting with somebody, someone suffering, someone needing to connect, than being fully present. Just being fully present to listen to that person. I believe this is another skill that we cultivate when we practice on a regular basis, to be fully present. There's no need to be lost in yesterday or chasing tomorrow. We begin to realize that all that we need is right here in this moment. But again, it could be looked at from an intellectual perspective, which is completely different than realizing it for yourself. And so I implore you to use the days of your life to investigate this with great sincerity. I implore you to do this not only for yourself, but for the good of your Sangha, Sweetwater Zen Center, and the communities in which you live in. Your practice is not insignificant. You are not alone someplace practicing and bearing no fruit. You may not always see the fruit of your efforts, but believe me, it's there. There, perhaps, is a seed that you've planted with an interaction, somebody who needed you. Perhaps it's being fully present with yourself, and allowing yourself to explore self-compassion, patience. I may have read this to you before, but I'm going to try to read a bit more of this one book that I may have shared with you before. It's called To Meet the Real Dragon. There's a particular paragraph where he mentions dragons and tigers, and I kind of like that. But I'm going to back up just a little bit further. I am asking you to bear with me as I read this. It's a little longer than usual, and then I think we might be done. Now, this book, and I believe a lot of his teachings, Gudo Nishijima, are about the teachings of Dogen. And in this section that I'm about to read to you, there are a lot of Dogen quotes, and I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to read his kind of a summary of the, let's see here, Fukan Zazenji, one of Dogen's books, or writings, or essays, I guess you could say. So I'm just going to dive right in here. Thank you so much for listening thus far. Even Gautama Buddha and Master Bodhidharma practiced Zazen, sitting, silent meditation. Therefore, we must follow their example. We must stop trying to find the truth only through intellectual effort. We must, in fact, work in the opposite direction. Master Dogen believed that our efforts in life can lead us in two directions. Usually, we acknowledge only one direction as a positive alternative. We want to make progress, to go forward, to get more, or to know more. Onward, ever onward. But Master Dogen felt that we are to find the truth. If we are to find the truth, we must reverse our direction. We must take a step back. When we are practicing Zazen, we are stepping back into a simpler, more primitive state. In Zazen, we cease trying to get something, or to hold on to something. In Zazen, we can lose everything. And when we have lost everything, we are just sitting. Then our original face appears. We expose ourselves to ourselves. We are bathed in our own reflected light. This is not an experience that can be described. The state of Zazen is ineffable. To attain the ineffable state, we must simply do it. I'm going to jump over here to another paragraph of him summarizing Dogen. In Zazen, we need not think, we need not feel, we simply sit. We sit with sincerity, with the whole body and mind. Sitting is not thinking, and it is not non-thinking. It is something that transcends both thinking and feeling. That something is action. It is different from thinking. This is the secret of Zazen. And then I am going to read this very small quote from Dogen. Quote, "The universe in Zazen is conspicuously realized. Restrictions and hindrances never reach it. To understand this is to be like a dragon that has found water, or a tiger in its mountain stronghold. Remember, in Zazen, the right Dharma is naturally manifesting itself before us, and darkness and distractions have dropped away already." End quote. And here's some more of his summary, one of my favorite part. In the Orient, dragons and tigers are symbols of power and dignity. But they can have their power only in their natural environment. Dragons draw power from water. A tiger standing in the shadow of a mountain is proud and invincible. When we practice Zazen, we gain the power and dignity of our natural state. We become strong, poised to act or not to act as the situation requires. In such a state, the imbalanced conditions of the body and mind that cause us to be either too passive or too aggressive and confused both disappear. I like that part about dragons and tigers. I also like the part about how when we sit, to summarize, we arrive. We arrive at who we truly are. It can be glimpsed that that which we seek over there, over the next horizon, and when we practice on a regular basis, we begin to understand it's here in this precious moment. Literally. That which we seek is already here. Again, we can read and read and read about that, attend Dharma talks, go on retreats, but until we make the effort, each and every one of us, for ourselves, we will never understand this on the deepest of level, and it is possible to understand.